guys, I'm Joe.
And I'm Arthur.
Yes, you are Arthur indeed.
Cool.
And welcome to Geek Room, the show where we battle against intergalactic monsters and then some.
I'm pretty sure we joined them.
No, you're supposed to kill them. Where's the fun in that?
Changing topics. So, how we're talking about sci-fi today, Joe?
Yes.
Do you think we would be the host of this show if we were in a different dimension?
That's a good question. Let's look off into the distance and think about that. Hola, me llamo José. Y me llamo Arturo. Bienvenidos por todo aquí en el cuarto de Adicos. Yeah, I can still see us hosting in an alternate. Are you okay? You good, Arthur?
Yeah.
Okay, well, he says he's good, ladies and gentlemen. Anyways, we got a great show lined up for you today. In fact, if you're looking to watch something new, sci-fi related, guess what? Talia, she's got a review prepped and ready for a show that she's currently watching. Let's toss over to her.
You go, species of the human.
Thank you, Joe and Arthur. So it's Talia here, and I am going to tell you what my favorite sci-fi TV series is. It is Westworld. That's right, Westworld. To give you an idea of what this story is about, it takes place in the distant future, and it is a whole amusement park called Westworld. Now, this amusement park is Western and themed, so it has beautiful Western landscapes. There's saloons. Now, the creator of the park also made humanoid robots to live in this park, and every day they get reset and put back in place, and then the next day starts all over again. So if there's people that can afford to go to this park, they show up, they pay for their ticket, and then they get to go to this park and live out their wildest, craziest dreams. And when I say wildest and craziest dreams, I mean really crazy. They can kill and murder and rape and do whatever they want to these robots, as long as they don't do it to any other human beings. Now, they're so cool because this show has a whole dynamic between like a God complex, like, oh, is this person in control of their body or is the other person in control? On top of it, what I love about this show is the acting is incredible. So Anthony Hopkins does an exceptional job like always. It is riveting to watch. But not just him. I found that all the other actors were so believable, it was scary. And the whole character arc of how they develop is so beautiful to watch from start to finish. The other thing I really enjoy about this show is the setting. I think the setting is beautiful and the cinematography is amazing. You know, every scene is just so well done. Now, with this show, a lot of people feel that season 2 and season 3, they kind of lose the story. I think there's some truth to that. I think season 1 was beautifully done. It was its own encompassed story from start to finish, and you really feel like you just got a nice little package of a story. Now, season 2 is pretty good as well, and it basically just ends and leads you to the 3rd season. And I wasn't as big in the 3rd season, but overall, I think this show is amazing, and anybody is going to enjoy watching this. Thanks for letting me geek out. Back to you, Joe and Arthur.
Thank you, Talia. Well, I guess I'm going to be watching Westworld, and, well, I guess I know I'm in for some really depressing stuff.
You're always depressing.
Thus is my life. But anyways, for our next topic, when we come back after the break, we're going to go ahead and start talking about what we've gone from depressing, and now we're going to talk about some really frightening stuff when we talk about sci-fi monsters. And guess what? Doctor Who. And Maggie is going to share that with us next.
Welcome back from that interdimensional commercials. Commercials, that's what you guys call it.
Yes. Yeah, that's what we call it. And guess what? We're going to be covering some really freaky deaky alien stuff right now. If you thought the xenomorphs were the ones that you need to fear for the universe, we're going to toss over to Maggie as she gives us her top 5 favorite Doctor Who alien species.
Take it away, mammal!
Hey guys, and welcome back. Thank you. And I'm going to be doing a nice little top 5 again today. So if anybody out there is a fan of Doctor Who, you'll want to stick around for this one. What I'm going to be doing is counting down my top 5 personal favorite alien species in Doctor Who. Now, a quick little disclaimer, I'm going to be only covering species that I've seen in the new series because I'm not going to be doing the classic one that came out in the 1960s. So, to start off our list today, we're going to be going with number 5. 5, the Ood. Now, the Ood are so fun. I mean, just look at them. They're adorable. And I love them so much because they're these friendly little guys who hold literally like their whole being in a little ball thing. And they use it to communicate with each other and sing to each other. And there's this constant song that you can hear when you're holding one of these sort of like soul ball things. And it's a really beautiful song as well. They also are some of the best episodes, in my opinion, of David Tennant's run specifically. And then at number 4, we're going to be going in with the Silents. Now, the Silents are really freaky and creepy. Some of the best Matt Smith episodes have to do with the Silents because the concept around them is that if you look at them, you can see them and they see you, and they're really scary and creepy looking, and as soon as you look away from them, you don't remember, you have no memory that you ever even saw them. So in a lot of episodes, they're kind of just creeping around the corner and they see and spot them, and then they look away, and it's like, oh, so it's so difficult when there's this villain that you don't have any memory of and you have to catch on somehow. And they find really clever ways of figuring that out by using time travel. So number 3, we're going to be going to the Daleks. Now, the Daleks are huge with the lore of the show. They're the most iconic, in my opinion, alien in the entire series. And they're these really violent, very logical creatures who stay in these metal shells that kind of look like big trash cans. I'm sure you've seen one before, even if you're not into Doctor Who. And those ones, it's self-explanatory. The Doctor's whole story revolves around them pretty much. Then we're going to be taking it into number 2. Now, number 2 is another iconic alien in Doctor Who. It's the Weeping Angels. The Weeping Angels are so cool because their concept, in a similar fashion to the Silents, they have something where when you're looking at them, they can't move. They're basically trapped, and they look like these very pretty angel statues, and then when you look away from them or blink even for just a second, they move at a really fast speed. So it creates a lot of really cool time travel conflicts within their species and with the Doctor. Now, a quick little honorable mention before I reveal my number 1, and that's going to be the Silurians. And I hope I'm saying that right. If I'm not, I'm sorry. But those are the alien race that, in a way, isn't even an alien race because they lived on Earth before we did, according to the lore of the show. They're like these reptiles, and they're just really cool. So, bringing it into number 1. At number 1, we have the Cybermen. The Cybermen are so cool. They're just so cool. They're these like metal robot, classic robot looking people who used to be human beings. And they're really freaky and they're really cool. I feel like they embody sci-fi the best out of anything on this list. And honestly, if you really want to know why they're so great, just check out the show. You'll love the Cybermen. Thank you so much for that. And now we're going to throw it on back.
Thanks, Maggie. And speaking of which, I might want to double check my house because with the Silence...
Silence.
Yes, the Silence from Doctor Who. I've been seeing stuff around my house moved around, and I don't remember moving it, so I might want to invest in ADT at this point. But anyways, we're about to go on break right now, but when we come back, we're going to have our sci-fi debate. And the debate is, how relevant is science when it comes to sci-fi content?
Meh. You guys aren't there yet. You wouldn't know.
When we come back. And guys, we're back with the whole Geek Room crew, and for tonight's debate, we're going to be discussing science. How relevant is it to science fiction? Who wants to start us off?
Well, first things first, Joe, let's throw Star Wars out because Well, even though it is a sci-fi, let's consider it a sci-fi fantasy because we can easily just say, hey, Star Wars, the most iconic thing like ever, and
Well, we haven't we haven't shot lasers yet. Like we have laser pointers and lasers, but no like shooting lasers as far as I know.
and we're starting to have lightsabers too. But
Yeah, that's true.
so that's why we'll just throw that out for now. That's in the trash. We'll go like other kind of routes this time.
All right, Interstellar, Christopher Nolan.
Great movie.
So like with that one in particular, the part that I'm going to be talking about right now is when they're on the planet where like, you know, it's just nothing but like the big ocean, and they said like, oh, time moves differently here compared to outside of its atmosphere. And when they go back into the ship, it's like what, 30 years have passed or something like that. And so it's like I remember watching that, I was like, that is insane right there. Like that is, I can't think of what that would be like.
So
Different.
Interstellar, you think science is really important to that story?
Like when it comes to Nolan, like when he covers like his movies, he and his team always like take a look at like the studies, like the research for whatever topic they're covering. So like, you know, Interstellar is space travel. Inception, they study dreams, and then Tenet, they study time travel, which that one was like bonkers all the way through. Great movie though. But like for Tenet, they were saying that if you actually do travel back in time, the rule for that one was you're actually traveling backwards. So when you come to the present, you're going backwards and not actually moving forward. So when people look at you, you're going reverse and vice versa as you see them. And so like even an explosion, if you're caught in an explosion in the movie, but you're going back in time, the fire freezes. And it's like, oh damn, like that makes sense. Like there is, what do you call it? Like there is a lot of logic to that. Now, Fast and the Furious logic, that makes no sense at all whatsoever.
Vin Diesel held in the helicopter.
There is just like they throw the law of physics out for there. So yeah, that's an example of science really doesn't work for that.
How feasible is the science of Inception?
Inception or Interstellar?
Inception.
Inception. So a dream within a dream within a dream. I mean, we do have VR chats right now where you can basically sit there and with something on your head and you're connecting with other people.
And have you
If
ever
there's-
had a dream? I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off. Have you ever had a dream where you're like dreaming about dreaming?
Yes,
I have.
actually.
Okay, so would that
Yeah.
be like a dream within a dream?
Yeah, so that is totally plausible. You can have a dream within a dream, but it's just it's just connecting with people in your dream that we're talking about. So
And lucid dreaming as well. 'Cause
Yeah.
Lucid dreaming.
when it comes down to it, like in Inception, that's essentially what they were doing.
well, usually Christopher Nolan does look at all kinds of aspects and everything. Now, usually he does a lot of research, I should say, when he's making movies because they're very, very detailed on almost every level. If you watch it scene for scene, like he's really detailed. I don't know how else to say things.
It's like you can tell that as the whole story plays out, like there was a lot of thought put into it.
Yeah, it's not just kind of thrown together, kind of like, okay, well, let's think about this. Nah, we don't have to. Let's just throw this in there. That'd be cool.
Like,
They actually do think about stuff.
I'll tell you, you want to say something?
I love when science fiction though, like I love when it's not necessarily based in science. Like it's very loosely based in science and it's more the fiction drives it. And I feel like sometimes movies do that and then like time speeds up and you realize that like, oh, science is catching up to that like science fiction and
I'm with you on that. That's
You know what I
cool.
mean?
Like the life imitates art kind of
Yes,
thing. Yeah, I like
yeah.
that too.
like I think of like Leonardo da Vinci where he made like the flying machine thing, but all of it was just like he looked at like birds to make that idea, but it
I
was
didn't even
all
know
the
that,
way in
actually.
the future.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, like when you look at Star Trek back in the old days, like the original series, you know, they had like the communicators, like, oh yeah, we can talk, you know, like via video. That was never a thing back then. And then come to now, here we are FaceTiming, Facebook Messenger, Instagram, like we can talk to each other now wherever we're at. And so like science, you know, it like when it comes to science fiction, it inspires us to think of what else could happen potentially. And like
We could even throw Terminator out there, how Skynet was a defense system.
oh, true.
Now we
Very
have
true.
defense systems here.
Mhm. We have artificial intelligence. We're developing artificial
Yes.
intelligence.
Did Terminator, was Terminator a predecessor for defense systems?
That's
Did that come first?
feel like
I think at the
original
time, so
The original came out in '84.
yeah, so at the time it was more. So if you look at a lot of the history, like during the Cold War, it was a lot of people making decisions, especially if like a bomb was gonna get thrown at them. Is the person making the decision? Hey, is this an actual bomb that's coming towards us? Is this an actual nuke? Who doesn't know? Now we have defense systems that automatically lock on to any missile that's going to be coming towards us and
Oh, okay.
to intercept other missiles.
Goddamn.
Because, as you can say, people can't actually predict where a missile's going to be, and the defense system does.
Did you
That's
guys?
kind of cool.
Did you guys ever hear about the story? I believe it was Facebook. There was like a lab where they developed artificial intelligence. They had two different entities, and they put them like in a chat room together, and both entities started talking with one another in their own made-up language, and immediately the scientists pulled the plug because like, no, we don't know what they're saying, we don't know what they're contemplating.
Whoa.
Too dangerous.
That's horrifying.
Whoa.
And here's the thing, back in 2010, they released the show Person of Interest, created by Jonathan Nolan. Amazing show if you guys haven't seen it, but the whole basis of the show is that there's a machine that spies on you every hour, every day. And it's...
Siri. Or Alexa.
Alexa, Siri,
Cortana?
All our phones go off when you say that.
And like in the show, it starts off as like, oh yeah, the machine just spies on you. But as the show progresses, they address that the machine actually is alive, and that it shows like the creator of the machine, like how he progressively built it to teach it, this is right, this is wrong, and like these are your sense of moralities right here. And so when watching, I'm like, I guess technically speaking, if you were to create something, you would have to teach it that. Like, otherwise, it wouldn't have a conscience then, would it? And so, like, I watched that. That came out in 2010. Here we are with I have friends now that they say, like, oh yeah, I can make bots, or like I'm programming like this system. I'm like, oh my gosh, like they weren't that far off. Like, it seems that whatever science, like whatever ideas came to science, like content creators tend to just push the envelope further.
Right. It's like the inventions all start with like creativity, with like imagination, and so somebody writes it down and says, whoa, wouldn't this be cool? And then you have the people with the brains to be like,
Find a
oh,
way.
let's make this happen. So I think in that form, science is pretty important to science fiction, because it just makes everything way more interesting if you can actually look into it and find a basis for it and stuff like that.
Well, how accurate would iRobot be then?
Ooh. I haven't seen the show. I'm not gonna lie.
It's not not the show.
Will
I'm talking
Smith?
about Will
Yeah.
Smith. Yeah.
Oh, I was thinking of Rami Malek.
Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot. I was
Mr.
thinking of Mr.
Robot.
Robot. Okay.
So that's more of a Blade Runner kind of thing, when you can't tell what's a human, what's I guess a replicant. They call them replicants. That's a little more in the future. I think if we were to go there before iRobot, that'd be more scary.
Well, I mean, like when you look at over like Japan, or like I think China too, like they're creating machines, like full-on robots.
They look so human-like.
Oh yeah, some of them are
Yeah.
crazy.
They try to give them like human emotion, and then it's like, well, how many more years until we get our first fully sentient being at this point? I guess.
You know what? I will say that I feel like I'm a little bit more entertained when it's more fiction-y and less true
Realistic?
to science. In a way, because I was just talking about Doctor Who, and I like Star Trek and stuff like that, where it's like, oh, it verges on magic almost, but it's still like, these are our explanations for these things. Oh, this is our explanation for how we can do this and this and that, but it's like, maybe someday, but it's not really, there's no basis in reality yet.
Kind of like alternate dimensions. It's like, what
Yeah,
if?
dimensional, oh, catch me watching anything with dimensions in it. I love dimensions.
Dimensions.
Oh, like The Mist, for example.
Oh,
You
Oh,
guys-
yeah.
scary.
I mean, like this is probably gonna go into like other territory, but you know how we have movies like that, like H.P. Lovecraft, like Lovecraftian type horror, where you go exploring like things that shouldn't be there, doors we shouldn't have opened. Like, it makes you wonder what was like, if there was any research to that, or what was the story behind that, like what it originally inspired people.
Yeah.
Because like there is always some truth to what is written down.
Well, it's kind of like Brave New World, if any of you have read that. It's kind of like, I don't want to say dystopian, but it's like what the future could be, and then if you can see, there's some parallels to how things are now. You know, so it's like really interesting. And what was that movie with the AI that came out like a few years ago that was really good and I loved it and I don't remember the name of it?
Ex Machina?
Yes,
Machina?
that's the one. Yeah, that one's pretty cool and that one's pretty realistic science-wise, I feel like, except maybe like the disco dancing.
Is Frankenstein, would that be sci-fi?
Technically speaking, yeah.
Yeah, I would
Like
consider
sci-fi
that.
horror.
It's sci-fi horror.
Frankenweenie.
I heard that the
Another one?
author, Mary Shelley, that whole story came to her in a dream. And then she was like, I gotta write that down.
That's
So
cool.
that was kind of like...
The way they explain it, I mean, it could work.
Kinda.
They actually
but-
attempted.
Did they?
They did. I remember
I don't
hearing
know.
years back. There was this guy. He had like a fate. What do you call it? This disease. He was gonna die within a few years. And what happened was, they were working on a Frankenstein experiment where they were literally going to detach his head and put it on a new body, or not a new body, but a donor's body, and they were going to reconnect the nerves and everything, and then see if he could like continue to live. And as far as I know, I don't think the experiment worked the way it should have. I could be wrong. I never got to read the ending of it, but they even covered that on an episode of X-Files as well.
Whoa.
Jurassic
That movie.
Park.
Oof.
Them bringing back
That-
dinosaurs. They're
Oh
doing
my
that
gosh.
now.
That's right, they're cloning. They're doing a lot of
Yeah.
cloning right now. When we come back, we'll take a look at the results. Hey guys, we're back, and we now have our results for our debate. So I'll start us off, and my end result is, you know what? Science matters to science fiction. Like Maggie had mentioned, you know, it builds off imagination, and then like the creator or the writers, you know, they take it further to see what potential does that idea have as it goes forward. So science all the way.
I'm going to disagree. I think that the fiction is way more important and the science is not so much important to science fiction.
You know what? I'm gonna say the science fiction is a lot better because it's just more fun and enjoyable to. Well, not enjoyable, but it's more fun and entertaining.
And I'm gonna say that I'm with Joe. I like a good amount of at least it being inspired by science because I just think it's really interesting.
Well, guys, that's all the time that we have for Geek Room. Thank you for joining us, and be sure to join us on our next show.
Where we're gonna be talking about.
Arthur, shut down.
Thanks, Maggie.
Oh yeah, go
I'll
for
take it from here.
Yeah.
So we just want to say thank you for joining us today on our episode of Sci-Fi. We hope you had as great of a time as we did. And we'll see you around soon. Bye.
Bienvenidos. I'll be like that with my head.
Sorry, what am I doing?
I don't know why. I feel like they're underrated a bit because.
Ah, damn it.
What's the